Okay, are you in a situation right now where no matter how hard you try, you can't seem to see significant progress? Or maybe you're simply not manifesting what you want? And then you start thinking, this will never work out, or I can't do this, or why am I so unlucky? I hate to break this for you, but it's your mindset that is sabotaging your success. It's not your boss, it's not your friends, it's not your weather, it's not the circumstance you're in, it's not because your genetics are bad. It is you. It is your mind. And if you do not fix your mindset, your dreams will actually eventually be out of reach. And I know that you want to reach your potential. I know that you know you're meant for more because you're on self-improvement and you can see what you can offer to this world. But if you do not take ownership of your mind, it will sabotage you. Your mind is not on your side right now. And if you don't do anything about it, you will become a victim of everybody else and remain average. But thankfully, you're in a good spot right now because you're smart enough to notice that your mindset might be in your way. Why would you click on this video about mindset shifts if you did not actually kind of think that your mindset could be the problem? But I'm here to confirm to you that it actually is, because with the right mindset, you can achieve literally anything. So let's go. We're about to have some mindset shifts. But knowing that you have to change your mindset doesn't actually change your mindset. You need to start educating yourself about what those mindset shifts look like. And I'm going to do a 3-part series about mindset shifts. The first part, which is this one, is all about education. You need to educate yourself about what mindset shifts you actually need. I'm going to give you the 3 most powerful ones that are the foundation to a successful mindset. So if you actually want to attract good things in your life, we need to reprogram your mind. I want you to trust me on this. I want you to trust me because I know that this works. And I want to impact people. I want to impact people in a positive way. And this is my way to go about it. I know that if I give you this information, it can actually change your life. And the reason why I feel so strongly about this is because my mindset is what brought me my success today. If you don't know me, my name is Bianca St. George and I'm a professional soccer player. And in my world, I am known to have a powerful mindset. I am known amongst my coaches, my teammates, my friends. My mind is my most powerful tool. And I can guarantee you that that was the piece that brought me to the top 1% of my career. To become a professional athlete, it is extremely rare. But if you think about my life, if you know a little bit about my life, I was not set up for this type of success. I didn't grow up in an environment that allowed me to have the most opportunities. Actually, I grew up on a farm. I grew up in a small village. That's how small it was. It was called a village in a French town in Saint-Félix-de-Valois in Canada. I did not have a lot of resources. I did not have a lot of money. I also didn't have a lot of facilities or access to trainers. I literally did not even have internet. And I could have all the excuses in the world why I would not become a professional athlete, but yet I'm still here. Despite all the odds, I was able to succeed. My mindset allowed me to work hard, to stay resilient faced to challenges, to stay disciplined, to jump on opportunities that came to me, and also create the life of my dreams. I succeeded because my brain was on my own side. It was on my own team. So let me teach you how to use your brain so it becomes your most powerful weapon. So the first mindset shift that you have to do is to go from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. And you probably have heard this before, but if you've heard this before and you still struggle with getting what you want, it's because you're not applying the growth mindset. Because if anything, this is the most powerful mindset between everything in the world. Having a growth mindset allows you to become unstoppable, to overcome any challenges, to believe in yourself. This is one of the strongest things, to actually believe in yourself. Because the moment that you don't believe in yourself, you won't achieve anything. So let me clarify to you in the simple way what a fixed mindset is. A fixed mindset is basically thinking that your success is determined by how much talent you have. So if you have a fixed mindset, you don't believe that you can actually develop your abilities and your intelligence through effort and practice. You think that you are simply born a certain way with a certain amount of talent and qualities. And maybe you don't think that's you. Maybe you're like, well, that feels stupid to think this way. Like, obviously you can get better at things. But let me give you some nuances, because it's not black and white. It's not like you don't have a fixed mindset or you do have a fixed mindset. You could have some traits of a fixed mindset that is holding you back. And you need to become aware of that, because your brain is kind of like a computer program. It's programmed to think of a certain way. And you act based off what you think. Because the way that you think makes you feel a certain way, and the way you feel makes you act a certain way. So if you don't become aware of what the program of your mind is, what is that setting in your mind, what do you actually think about, you won't be able to change your behavior and won't be able to manifest your dream life. So you have to notice, where are you setting limitations for yourself, about what you can do and what you can accomplish? So some examples is like, if you find yourself avoiding challenges, because if you have a fixed mindset, you will believe that you need to avoid challenges because it will make you look incompetent if you don't do well, if you don't succeed perfectly at it, if you fail at your challenge. And that is why I love hosting self-improvement challenges. I've done 3 last year, and I'm going to do one almost every month this year. So if you want to participate, just stick around, because I'm going to make an announcement this month about the one in February. But challenges are one of the most important ways that you can grow, because you literally take control over the way that you want to challenge yourself to match a specific outcome that you want to see in yourself. Life is already full of challenges that are going to be thrown at you, but what if you create your own challenges to see how much you can grow from it in a controlled manner, in a way that feels safe to explore, so you're not reactive and instead proactive. Another thing you might notice about yourself, if you have a fixed mindset, is that you give up easily on things. And the reason why you give up easily is because you feel that you have a lack of ability, and that lack of ability cannot be improved. It acts like as this barrier. So you're like, oh, I give up because this is not meant for me. If you find yourself feeling like effort is meaningless, that also is a sign they have a fixed mindset. Because if you feel like no matter what you do, you're not going to improve, that means that you believe that you only have a certain tap of your potential. But let me give you a little secret here. Your potential is actually limitless. Limits arise where vision ends. So if you envision yourself as something that has a cap of potential of what you can be, that is going to be your limit. So you have to view yourself as a no limit person, someone that has unlimited potential, because you can never outperform the limit that you pose on yourself. Also, if you ignore constructive criticism, like if you feel defensive or you take it personally, that is also a sign that you have a fixed mindset. If you feel threatened by the success of others, that is also a fixed mindset, because you believe that there is a finite amount of success for people, and it makes you live in scarcity. It makes you live smaller because you fear other people instead of realize that you can win and other people can win. The best thing in life is win-win situations. That's why I give you value. It's not scary for me to give value, because the better that you become, the better it makes me. You have to have that mentality, but you cannot have that mentality if you have a fixed mindset. You know you don't have a fixed mindset if you feel inspired by other people's achievements, because you're not thinking, oh, they have that, so that means I am less. It's like, oh, they have that, so I can too. Now, another one that is pretty obvious is if you think of yourself being good or bad at something and you just stay there. You just think that I am bad at math or I'm not good at cooking. If you put those words, you make it a self-fulfilling prophecy. You make that a reality. And that's a result of a fixed mindset. So if you actually want to change from that fixed mindset to a growth mindset, it's not that complicated. You just have to think about the fact that you can achieve and become anything you put your mind to. And that's a choice that you can make. That's something that you can choose right now. You don't have to stick to all these limitations you've put on yourself in the past. Even though maybe you've done it for 20 years, maybe for 20 years, you've been putting limitations on yourself and you're like, well, it can't really change in one moment. Yes, it can. Because why not? You can decide right now that you have unlimited potential and that you can learn and become anything you want to be through effort, time, and practice. Because that's the reality. We can all get better. You need to be a little bit more humble and realize that it's normal to not be good at everything from the start. And that's something that I had to learn myself because I am an athlete and sports have always been really easy for me. And I was always really good at sports naturally. But then when I started looking at other areas of my life, such as school, I realized that it wasn't as natural for me to get good grades. And I couldn't understand how other people were having good grades while I was average. And I realized it's not that they were geniuses. They were simply putting more effort into their school. But because I did not view my sport as something that I put effort in because it was so fun for me to compete and work hard, I didn't really realize how much effort I was putting. So I felt like that's how life should be. Like I shouldn't really need to feel like it's painful to get good at something. But then when I went to this high school and I was surrounded by elite athletes that were actually good in school and I was like really not at the same level as them, I started to feel very insecure about that. But having a growth mindset is thinking that how can I be good like them? And I realized, well, they were putting way more time into their studies than I was. So when I arrived in college, I shifted my mindset to be one of the best scholar athletes I could be. I told myself that I wanted to change my identity and become a nerd. And I was able to get good grades because I believed that I could get them. I knew that if I put the effort, I would get the result. So when I was in college, I decided to prioritize my school and I ended up graduating with the highest GPA in my whole class. I was studying pre-med and I had the best grades out of everyone and I was a student athlete. And I'm not saying that to toot my own horn. I'm here to say that you can literally achieve anything you put your mind to. It wasn't easy to get there. I had to make tons of sacrifices. And I had tons of people tell me, oh wow, Bianca, you're so smart, you're so intelligent. They always kept saying that and I was like, I actually am not. I just put in the work. I was like, look at me. When we're on the road, I'm always studying. When you guys party, I'm always home studying. I go to office hours. I have tutors. I do extra credit. I did everything to get good grades. I'm not smart. At least it wasn't inherent. I just put in the work. And changing that whole perspective made me realize that I could literally be anything I could. If you want to actually believe in yourself, just start focusing on something that you want to improve at, that you don't really think you can, but you're like, okay, maybe I could if I put time into it and practice and just commit to it and see that you can actually make progress. And when you see yourself become something that you thought was impossible in the past, you'll realize that you can become anything. And that self-belief is priceless. Now, the second mindset shift that you need to adopt is to go from a victim mentality to complete ownership. And I cannot stand the victim mentality in myself and in others. It's one of the things that cringe me out the most and I just don't have time for. When you start blaming things externally, when you're being a victim to what happens to you, you start losing all the power you have to change your situation. You have to understand that when you blame, you are living in the past. When you blame the person that did you wrong or the unlucky thing that happened to you or your boss that told you this or your friend that did that to you, when you start blaming other people, you're putting all that time and energy into the past. Meanwhile, when you take full responsibility of your life, of all the good and bad, you are acting in the present moment. Think about the word responsibility. Responsibility, your ability to respond. And you can only respond in the present moment. And there is only power in the present moment because you cannot change the past. You cannot control what has happened to you in the past, but you can control how you respond to it in the present moment. And when you have this ownership mentality, I am responsible for my life, the good and the bad, You stop playing the victim anymore. You stop giving all your power away. I had a friend that got scammed recently. Actually, I had two friends, but I'm going to just talk about one. And the way that they got scammed was by a car mechanics, and they stole $500 from him, pretending that he did work, but he actually didn't. And it's actually a true story. When he tried to call the mechanics shop, they said that they fired the guy because he had too many side jobs and he was like stealing money from people. And that person was venting to me saying that, they're such a dirtbag. I can't believe they did that. They're so wrong for doing that. I want to have revenge. I want to blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, eventually, at the end of the day, you're the one that decided to trust him. Because if you look in retrospect, you had so many signs that they were not trustworthy, but you decided to trust them anyways because you had faith in humanity, which is a great quality that they have. But you have to realize that if you do not take full responsibility of your actions, you will just keep repeating the same mistakes. If he only keeps blaming other people for what happens, that means you're more susceptible to repeat the same thing over again and be in the same situation again because it feels like you have no power into what happens into your life. He won't lose $500 again if he doesn't trust blindly another dude when all the signs were there. So I'm telling him, if you want to get better from this situation, all you have to do is learn from the situation. I'm not like the most fun friend to have because I always give the hard truth, but ultimately the people that know me and love me, they understand that whatever I say, even though it's not what they want to hear, it comes from a place of love. It comes from a place of growth where I want the best for them. So I tell them, if you want to feel better, you just simply have to shift your mind into what can I learn from this situation so it doesn't happen again. So if you're not sure if you have a victim mentality because maybe you don't think of yourself as blaming other people, here are some other signs that you might have a victim mentality. You could feel helpless or hopeless in some situations. You could feel resentment or bitterness towards people. You could have some cognitive distortions, such as thinking, oh, this always happens to me, or I'm so unlucky, or this is the worst thing ever, or this happened because I'm unworthy. Those type of narratives reinforce the fact that you're a victim and you're powerless to your situation. Why would you say that to yourself? Why would you put yourself not on your own team? It's like a couple years ago, maybe last year, 2 years ago, there was this thing going around, the lucky girl syndrome. It sounds so woo-woo, but it actually works. When you think that you're so lucky, you start creating luck for yourself. But the other way around is also true. If you start thinking all the bad things, you're so unlucky, bad things happen to you all the time, blah, 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 you're going to attract that to your life. And finally, this one hits home. It's self-pity. Self-pity is a form of victim mentality. And I have an example in my life where that actually ruled my life and it was detrimental to me. And I haven't had that many moments in my life where I felt like I embodied a victim mentality because I don't feel like I had a lot of bad luck in my life, actually, or bad circumstances. But this one year in 2021, I had unique situations that piled up that made me feel like a victim. And I'm going to tell you this story so that you understand how it was my own doing that created the suffering and made the problems worse. So in 2021, at the beginning of the year, I experienced a huge high in my life. I got called up to go to the national team because in 2020, it was my first year as a professional athlete and I had an amazing season as a rookie. I actually was a starter. I distinguished myself amongst others. I was rookie of the year. So it was a huge high in my life and I was like, wow, what a great start to my professional career. So in 2021, I get invited to my first national team camp for Team Canada. We were preparing for the Olympics. And then on day 3 of camp, I tear my knee. And if you know a little bit of my story, you know I've had a major injury in my career. But that wasn't in 2021. That happened in 2019. In 2019, I had a huge injury that kept me out of sports for over a year. And then in 2021, it happened again, the same injury, but on the other leg. So I was like, what the f***? But seriously, I was like, how can this happen to me? Because it literally just happened. Why does it have to happen again and so quick? Initially, I had a pretty good mindset because I kept in mind, if I come back quick enough, I will still go to the Olympics. But with time, it became obvious that I wasn't going to be ready. And eventually the roster came around and I wasn't ready to go to the Olympics, so I did not make the team. That was rough. Then I'm in my professional team and I can't get myself to get some playing time. I'm with the coach that doesn't value me anymore. I play a total of 4 games throughout the whole year, which is very little. And eventually in those 4 games, I get 2 red cards. That is extremely embarrassing. And one of those red cards, I got extremely humiliated at. So I was really hitting the lows of my lows. And there were so many ways where I felt neglected. First of all, the staff, the medical staff, my teammates weren't supporting me. I had an abusive coach, and I'm not saying this to put blame. It was just a fact. Like, he literally got fired because he was abusive. So it was so easy for me to start blaming the situation for my misfortune. There were so many external factors that were not helping me come back and be healthy again, to be at my peak. And everything around me started to feel unfair. I stopped believing in myself. And I stopped believing in what I could accomplish. And on the side, I was doing my self-improvement, but I wasn't feeling like I was self-improving anymore. I was not being disciplined. I was literally stuck in analysis paralysis all the time because I wasn't allowing myself to do the thing that I needed to do. I was feeling stuck. I was feeling restless. I started having digestive issues. I started to feel negative thoughts that I've never felt before. I eventually started taking antidepressants, and I was in therapy. Things were not going well. But for some reason, someone was looking out for me. I like to think of my grandparents that are up there. It could be God, it could be a higher power, whatever. But I picked up a book about Mind Gym. And it's basically how to train your mind. And basically it promotes the fact that you need to train your mind just as much as you train in the gym. And in there was a sentence that said, when you find yourself in a hole, the first rule is to stop digging. And that clicked for me because I knew that I was in a hole, but I was keep digging myself further and further down because I was allowing my thoughts and my victim mentality to put myself lower. And it almost felt good to keep giving myself those negative thoughts because I thought that being a victim was a way to soothe myself. It felt like I could get away from not working hard to get out of it because it wasn't my fault. And I kind of knew that if I wanted to get better, it would take a lot of effort. It would take a lot of time and patience and grit and getting out of my comfort zone. And that just felt extremely uncomfortable. And I didn't want to do it. But that was the only way out. When I read that sentence, I understood that I had to take radical ownership of my situation right now. Maybe I couldn't control all the abuse that has happened to me, all the neglect, all the misfortunes. But what was I going to do about it in the moment? Mope around? Decide that my career was over? Or pick myself back up and decide that this was going to be part of my story? I feel like most heroic stories always stem from hardship. And I started to romanticize my life, to view my life as, no, this was here to teach me a lesson. This is important for me to understand, not only for me to overcome and feel good about myself, but to be able to relate and help all the other people that are also in that same situation. I literally thought that at that time because I always knew I had potential. And I was like, I'm going through this suffering because one day I'll be able to relate to other people going through the same thing, and I will be able to help them. I view myself as an experiment, and I was like, I need to take myself out of this to show to people that it is possible to get out of your hole if you decide to. And that starts by taking responsibility of your current situation. So I really had to put my ego aside because my ego loved being a victim. It felt good to be a victim. But I had to let it go and realize that I had shortcomings. I had to get better. I had to get fitter. I had to work on my mentality. There were things that I could do, and that would make me better. Take full responsibility of your life, the good and the bad. And this mentality is not for the weak, but I know you have potential. And that requires you to be strong. So whatever situation you're in right now, even if it sucks, embrace it, because that will be part of your story. And with your growth mindset that you will also have, you can achieve anything. So you either stay bitter or get better. Now, the last mindset shift that you need to adopt is to go from perfectionism to progress. This one really hits home for me again. But mostly everything I say in my videos are things that I have experienced. I will never say anything that I don't actually believe in. But this one particularly is something that I had to personally overcome for me to achieve new levels for myself. Perfectionism used to rule my life, not as much in sports, but for any aspirations outside of my career, such as my YouTube channel. Even though my mentality was pretty tough growing up, and it brought me to become a pro athlete, I still have things that I need to work on. And to me was to overcome the feeling that I had to be perfect at everything I did. And like I mentioned a little bit earlier, my problem was specifically the analysis paralysis. So if you find yourself over planning, trying to predict everything that you need to do for you to start something new that aligns with your goals, but you end up just being in this cycle where you just plan so much that you end up not taking action, you are also suffering from analysis paralysis. But perfectionism can come in other ways as well. If you procrastinate, that's perfectionism in disguise, because you're avoiding trying things and making mistakes. Or if you have negative self-criticism, like you always criticize what you do, expecting you to be better all the time. And also if you overthink, that is also a way of you being a perfectionist. And the way that you combat perfectionism is actually quite simple. It's to just do the thing that you want to be perfect at and accept that you won't be. If I wanted to overcome my perfectionism to post on YouTube, I just had to post on YouTube and accept that it wasn't going to be perfect. One of the rules that I follow is that as long as it's 70% good, that's good enough. Because the gap between 70 and 100%, there's not that much difference in return. So as long as I tell myself it's 70% good, it's good. A lot of my YouTube videos I post and I'm always like, there's like typos here. I don't like the switch here. I don't like how I said that. But ultimately it gives value. And I can only make progress if I post more and then I analyze what I did and then I learn from my mistakes. The reason why you're not seeing your life manifest the way that you want it to is because you're too afraid to take the steps to get it. And you're afraid because you fear failure. What comes in the way from you to actually see progress is your perfectionism, and your perfectionism stems from your fear of failure. So let's focus on that right now. Let's focus on what is fear of failure. There's two components to that. There's the fear and then there's failure. First of all, with fear, you have to understand that fear can only live in the future. Fear is as big and important and scary as you imagine it to be. But that's your imagination. It's not even real. What's the acronym? Fear is false evidence appearing real. So whatever you convince yourself as being scary is a makeup of your mind. If you're scared of being judged by who? Those 5 people? Maybe 2 high school friends, a family member? Like, what are you afraid of? You fear not looking perfect? Who is perfect? You know what makes me and you connect so well is because we relate to our imperfect selves. If I was perfect, you wouldn't relate to me. If you were perfect, you wouldn't relate to me either. I wouldn't relate to you. Like, being imperfect is what makes us beautiful. And a lot of spirituality and like in the Japanese world helps you with that. So I would suggest you dive into that if you really want to understand like the beauty of imperfection. But if you have a common theme of always feeling stuck, the thing that you need to do is to just be decisive. Just make a decision. In sports, it is known that you make a wrong decision not by making a wrong decision. It's by not making a decision at all. If I'm in front of a play and I have the choice to pass the ball or to shoot, the worst decision is to not make one, Because if I don't make one, the defender is just going to take the ball away from me. Versus if I decide to shoot, maybe it wasn't the right decision in the case that I should have passed, or maybe if I passed, maybe I should have shot, but I would have never known what I should have done if I wouldn't have made the mistake. You have a 50% chance of being right, but if you don't make a decision at all, you have 100% chance of being wrong. And this is something I need to keep applying to myself, because sometimes I fear taking shots on goal because I don't want to waste the opportunity. But how am I going to score goals if I don't take shots? You miss 100% of the opportunities you don't take. So if I don't take shots on goal, I'm never going to make any goals. Now let's talk a little bit about failure. You need to change your relationship to failure. You have to understand that failure is a blessing. Failure is something that you need to view as feedback. Saying you fear failure is like saying you fear feedback. What's so scary about feedback? Feedback is cool. It's like data. It's insights. It's information that you can use to get better. That's awesome. And failure is inevitable. No matter how much you try to avoid failure, you're still going to experience it. But the ultimate failure is to feel like when you experience it, it's the end-all be-all of your situation. But the thing is, what makes you successful, it's not failing, it's your ability to respond to failure. It's how you respond to failure. So I like to view failure as my teacher. And what I like to imagine is I have this little turtle, you know the turtle in Kung Fu Panda that is super wise? That person is my ultimate wise teacher that lives with me. And when I start feeling complacent or when things are going well, I feel like my teacher is always around me to teach me a lesson, to be like, let me put a little bit of failure or hardship right here to make you feel a little bit insecure, because I'm trying to test you. I'm trying to see if you're all about that. I'm trying to see if you're actually that strong. So when I feel some sort of uncomfortable failure, I realize, okay, this is just life testing me. How can I respond to this in such a graceful way, in an elegant way? You learn how to deal with failure better with time because you're being aware that it's not a bad thing. I've had so many failures in my life. I've failed at going to the Olympics twice, World Cup once, and I still feel like I am a successful person because I have been able to grow so much from them. When I didn't make the World Cup roster in 2023, that's when I started my YouTube channel, because I was like, okay, maybe I'm not spending the time at World Cup, but what am I going to do from that? Just mope around and feel bad about myself from failing, or use this opportunity to learn from what I failed and teach others how to improve their mentality, improve their habits, focus on self-development, finding self-worth outside of sports. I started all that from failure, and I had the choice to do it. And you have to realize that whatever happens in your life is a choice. Whatever you're not changing, you're choosing. So if there's something that you want changed in your life, you got to make the decision to actually change it. So these were the overall 3 mindset shifts that you need to adopt to actually start manifesting the life that you want. You need a growth mindset, you need to have a full ownership mindset, and you need to shift from perfectionism to progress. And what I need from you is that you need to stop surrounding yourself by negative people or a negative environment. You need to stop consuming things that lower your vibrancy. You need to be around people that elevate you, because it is so much harder for you to change your mentality if everything around you is negative. That's one of the reasons why I created the private community about self-improvement that you can sign up for in the link in my description. I'm trying to put all these people together because we can grow so much faster if we surround ourselves by people like-minded, by people that are ambitious, visionary, that value self-development, that want to reach your potential. Surround yourself with the proper people and you will become a greater version of yourself. And I want you to start being more introspective. I want you to start noticing things about yourself. Keep educating yourself about these 3 types of mindsets and start asking yourself questions. Commit to journaling. You need to take yourself seriously, your potential seriously. And that requires you to take a harsh look at how you limit yourself. And I want you to stick around because I will have the part 2 come up in the next few days that will be about application, because this video was all about education. It was educating you about the specific mindsets. And then a part 2 will be on what you need to do to apply these mindsets. And it's going to be a bit more practical, because finally, I want you to finally free yourself from the toxicity of your mind and make your mind be your best friend, be the biggest supporter for you, because you will lose if you put yourself against you. Ultimately, your competition is yourself. It's you versus you. I want you to feel free from the fears that are holding you back and eventually tap in the highest version of yourself, because that way you can lead other people. And as much as you might not view yourself as a leader, you becoming the highest version of yourself by prioritizing your growth makes you a leader by default. And when you start leading your life, you simply lead others to start leading their life. And that's the best thing that you can do. You feel more connected to people. And when you show up online, which is something that I encourage people to do, is to start their personal brand, start posting on YouTube, start blogging, start posting on Instagram. Just share your knowledge, because you will help younger you will help people in the similar situation as you to grow, to escape the toxicity of their mind, and to actually feel better. And together we will feel more connected. We need each other. We need this world to be more empowered. And the more that we fall victim to our mind, we let bad people take control over the world, and the world is headed to a terrible place. So we need people like me and you that value self-improvement to take ownership of our lives, to heal ourselves, so we can become the best version of ourselves. And one by one, we will make the world a better place. So on this note, sign up on the first link of my description for the private community. The second link is my newsletter for exclusive content. And I will see you in the next few days in the new video about mindset shifts and the application of it. I love you so much, and see you very soon. Mwah.